All right, Bart, can I have a drum roll, please, to start?
You got it. Here it comes.
All right.
Crash via chip.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Drummers Education Connection. My name is Jeremy Steinkohler. I'm here with my friends Bart Robley, Chip Ritter, and Rick Stojak.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. 4 different corners of the West Coast, California and Arizona. And we are here every Tuesday with some roundtable content. Sometimes we have interviews with drummers. Sometimes we have roundtable discussions about various topics related to drumming, drum teaching, drum lessons, building a career as a drummer and as an instructor, talk about all different kinds of stuff. So we're excited to be here. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're doing something a little bit different today where we are on Zoom. Normally we're on a different platform called StreamYard, but we wanted to make sure that we got Rick in his studio because today our guest of honor is none other than our very own Rick Stojak.
The guy right below me, right here. He's right down there. Rick, how are you?
Hey.
I just want to say before we even get started that I wouldn't even be involved with this project, the Drummers Education Connection, were it not for Rick Stojak. He called me on the phone and said, hey, I've got this thing that I'm putting together with these 2 other great guys, great drummers, and do you think you might want to be a part of it? And when he told me about it, I thought, Rick, whatever you're involved with, I want to be involved with, because Rick is such a great guy. One of the friendliest, most upbeat guys I know, a terrific teacher. We've had many conversations about teaching drums and about publishing books and playing drums. And I just, every time I walk away from a conversation with Rick, I feel like I'm a better person for it.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Gosh,
Jeremy, that's so sweet.
I'll second that for sure.
I'll third that.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are so sweet. You know, I feel the same about all of you.
Right on. Right on. Well, so Rick, we're here today to talk about you and to discover more about you, more things that we didn't know, and get to know you a little bit better, and hope that you can share some of the benefits of your many years of experience as a teacher and an educator and a professional player with us and with our community at large here. So let's see, let me get my list up of things to talk about. So Rick, you have had your drum studio, the Rick Stojak Drum Studio there, established in San Diego for over since 1995. Is that right?
Yeah, 95 is when I first started teaching in San Diego. Yeah. Wow. It was a few years after that I came up with the name Rick Stojak's Drum Studio. And you know, I was teaching at a couple music stores starting in 95, but yeah, it's been about 15 years that it's been Rick Stojak's Drum Studio.
That's fantastic. And we're into talking about Rick's studio, and we have a virtual tour queued up because his studio is such a cool spot. But before we get into it, I just want to mention that Rick has built this thriving drum studio. He's got a really strong community of students that adore him. He was the Sabian Education Network Teacher of the Month last month.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks, Sabian.
He's
Joe and Dom.
3 books self-published on his own called How to Build a Drum Groove, parts 1, 2, and 3. He's working on the 4th. We're going to talk about that. Rick endorses Aquarian drum heads, Sabian cymbals, Vic Firth drumsticks, and Sky Gel damper pads.
Hey.
And I'm excited to talk about this. I know you were big into the punk scene in the 80s, and I'm going to out of the bag here a little bit to mention that Rick's first gig when he was 16 was at none other than CBGB in New York City. So man, I grew up in New York City, and I never played.
Yeah.
That's big, man. That's big time.
That is.
Oh, it was such a fun start, man.
Oh, I want to hear all about it. But so Rick was also big in the psychobilly scene, kind of the punk rockabilly scene, touring Europe and US with the Barnyard Ballers, which released 4 different LPs, the Guana Bats, the Clacks Band, and he plays now freelance and plays with a lot of DJs doing drums and DJ duos at corporate events, things like that. We're going to talk about electronic drums and hybrid setups, and Rick is really big into that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about his family background because he comes from a family of drummers. So Rick, how did you get started teaching? That's the first thing I want to know.
Oh my gosh. You know, well, it was the product of having a good teacher, right? I had a great teacher starting out, a guy named Emile De Leon in Middletown, Connecticut. And it was just fun. So I just dabbled a little bit when I was a teenager with teaching right at home. And then I got so busy with my band, I just kind of just put it to the side. And then when I moved to San Diego, one day a friend of mine just said, "Man, you should be teaching." And I started off, and the first guy who came in kicked butt, a guy named Kurt Buskey. He kicked ass. And I went, "Oh my God, this is going to be so intimidating." And then I found out, there were some things that I had learned from all the lessons that I took that I could share with him. So even though he was an outstanding drummer to begin with, there were some things that I could share with him. And so there's been no looking back, no looking back. And
Well, I know
I just love it.
it shows every time we have a conversation with you how much you love it. And that to me is one of the great things about you, is how passionate you are about your teaching and passing on your knowledge and helping inspire your students. So you've written these drum books, published these drum books. I use them sometimes in my teaching practice. I think they're fantastic. And it seems to me, from a conversation we had, that they were born out of your feeling like there was something missing that needed to be there for your students. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. I felt like not everybody who wants to learn the drums has that time or ability or energy to work on technique and snare drum and just work that forever. I had a lot of people who just, "Hey, I just want to play to a song. Just get me started with a song." So I just started compiling a list. I found like a kick snare beat, boom, tick, and came up with 10 songs that use that from the start. And so I was noticing right away, people were getting inspired and like, "Hey, I can actually play drums." Because the first question often is, "Hey, how long until I get good?"
Right.
Yeah.
And it's impossible. We can't answer that, right? We're all still always trying to get good. But what I could say is that maybe by the first lesson or two, you can play to this list of songs. Songs like, Billie Jean in 1999 and Talking Heads version of Take Me to the River, which is just boom, bop, boom, bop, just straight up. Yep. And then I would add one variation, add two kicks in a row, boom, boom, bop, and and that lined up with It Wasn't Me by Shaggy. So there it is. So we were producing drummers right away, people who actually could jam. Yeah.
Building a drum groove.
Exactly. And that's how the name, came to be. I could show you a picture of how to build a drum groove. And so I don't know if you guys could see that. That's a series.
Yeah, that looks great.
Right.
Ooh, there's a yellow one. I haven't seen the yellow one yet.
No one has, Chip. That's the fourth one, and it's about 80% there.
I gotta say, I've got the other three, and I use them in my teaching, and they're wonderful tools. They save all kinds of time. They've all got resource lists of great material. If you're a drum teacher, get How to Build a Drum Groove by Rick Stojak. It's a great series.
Absolutely.
That's great, Chip. And it's one of those things, I just love doing it. It's I work on it all the time. This has been 10 years in the making. And Roy Burns, when I talked to him about it when I was early on in this concept, and he said, "Man, whatever time you think it's going to take, triple it." And it's and what's really fun is I'll write out a page and then I'll beta test it on a student.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super fun. So then I'm really excited about the lesson because I'm working on the book.
Nice.
And then I find my students are excited, like, wow, I'm actually involved in the process.
That's like a living creation.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And what a tremendous value to be able to create a book in the real life laboratory of lessons, instead of just writing a theoretical book that you imagine people will work with in a certain way, or you imagine people get results with. You're actually basing the book on the actual results that people get as you teach the material. And then you're refining the book to make it more effective. So it's like these books are coming right out of the laboratory.
That's it. Yep. And all of the songs.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, guys. Well, all of the songs, I have them on a playlist. So you'll have one beat. You might have 5 songs or 3 songs. As long as the beat is steady, then I think that's a good one to add to the book, because I know people will be able to play along with it, and then they'll look at the beat and say, well, okay, I'm reading it on paper, but what does it sound like? Well, just go to YouTube, because I have all the playlists on my YouTube channel.
Mhm.
And then all the playlists are in the book are in order by beats per minute. So they're really understanding tempo too. So what does 100 feel like? What does 120 feel like? So I think that's more important than how fast are your paradiddles. No
Sure.
offense to fast paradiddles, but
Right.
that's why it's all about how to, why it's a book about building groove. And I studied with Zorro a lot, and I used to have a lot of workshops here and clinics here. And my brother Zorro, I talked with him about the concept, and he wrote the foreword on the series, and I'm grateful for that. And so it's just been an adventure, and it just means the world to me that you guys like the book. That's so cool.
Congrats.
Rick,
Do you find that in teaching that way? Well, one of the things I also want to say is this: I always get these really cool little texts from you, throughout the day, and you always have a real positive attitude, which I want to talk about in a minute. But like the other day, you sent me this video, and you're like, just another day at the office, and you guys were playing "Burning Down the House," and everybody's just in there rocking. I was like, man, that looks like he is just having a ball, man. Everybody's having so much fun. Do you
Yeah.
find that doing it this way, like having the students involved in in the writing process and everything like that, it keeps them super interested in the lessons all the time because they want to see how your books are progressing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm trying to finish up this 4th book now, which is all shuffles and specialty beats,
Cool.
triplet bass, anything that has a steady groove. And so I'm asking my students, and you guys and anyone in the drum community, hey, you know of a song that fits in with that's just a really great example of the one beat. And so I have my students searching for music, and that's what I'm trying to get them to
Oh,
do, is be better listeners.
nice.
um
yeah. That's a great
and
idea.
yeah,
Freddie
and then the
King, man. Freddie King,
what
Lonesome Whistle Blues.
oh yeah, Chip, you mentioned that one to me. That's gonna be in the 4th book.
Nice.
There's a lot of
Good shuffle. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, thank you. That's I really appreciate that. And what I'll find too is you'll see a beat on paper, and then I'll have a playlist with songs that use that beat. And then the lesson is all about listening and listening to the feel, because we know it could look one way on paper,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but the feel is completely different from song to song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so books that haven't used songs to pair them up, you play the beat, okay, next, okay, boom tick, boom tick, got that beat. You don't really have that beat.
Right.
And then what I find is it's so interesting that the same beat will fit into artists will use different artists will use that same beat, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't have any idea that these artists could use the same beat, because the artists are so different from one another.
One of the things I like about how to build a drum groove is if you've got the song list, like say beat number 13, you go back a few pages to the song list inventory, and it's got all these songs that same beat goes to. It's a great resource as teaching, because it shows them the different sounds that can come out of the same beat, the different sound and structure around the music that they're playing. It's very cool. It's a great resource.
Oh man, thanks, Chip. And it's fun. That's what I think
And
is
it's
bottom line.
fun.
It should be fun. Yep.
One of the things that you touched on was feel. The 3
Mhm.
most important things of drumming are groove, time, and feel, right?
Yeah.
And making that all come together. And one of the things that you talked about, you can have the same drum groove played in, or the same drum fill played in 2 different songs, and it feels different. And I think it is
Mhm.
about the drummer's touch on the drums. You mentioned Roy Burns. A lot of times people um, describe Roy Burns drumming as the way he touched the drums. He had such a magical touch. And when you look at
Mhm.
other drummers like John Bonham, there's a great another book series, and I know we're plugging yours, but there's a book series on the ultimate play-alongs, right? And they have some really cool ones on Bonham, and in some of the charts, it'll say slightly swung, so the groove isn't really driven, it's not really swung, it's somewhere in no man's land, right? Do you
Yeah.
find that the way you're teaching that people's feel develops better and faster through doing it this way? Do you think that, Rick, it really helps our feel in the long run as a drummer?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just you've got to get inside the song
Right.
and get in the vibe of what the artist was intending to do. And I have my flat screen up in front of both kits and use YouTube. And so a lot of times we'll play a live version of the song as well.
Nice.
So we're getting that kind of virtual reality kind of vibe going on.
Very cool.
Yeah.
The technology that you've been anointed with. So
Should
Rick,
never forget that one.
can we take a look at your studio? Can we run that video? I'd love to see the studio and have us maybe talk us through it.
Sure, Jeremy, could you run that video?
Yep, queuing it up right now.
Our gracious host
Rick
here.
Stojak's Drum Studio, ladies and gentlemen.
You guys see that? Okay?
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at that. Got Lenny Kravitz over there rocking out with it, man. Look at all those sticks. Woohoo!
That's it right there.
Man, look at that.
Airstation. On those, look at that library.
Look at the library. Yeah.
Love it.
Molly's over there.
Like it, yeah.
Hey, there I am.
Yeah, I was
Jeremy, you're in there.
Hey,
Yeah,
yo,
I
that's
was
really
there,
cool,
right
man.
on.
So, Rick,
Right.
you're also a member of the Sabian Education Network, and you were the drummer for the month. How did that happen? Can you tell us about that?
I've been a Sabian artist since 2012, so I've been on the Sabian roster for a long time. And then I've been a real follower of the Sabian Education Network. I think any drum teacher, no matter what you play, should become a member of it. It's, a huge international resource for drummers, and they've got a great forum also.
How did you get involved with them?
I think I just saw that it was something that Andy Zildjian talked about one time. I remember him mentioning it, and saw that they had it available. So
That's
it was
cool.
any drummer can sign up for it. Yeah, just go to Sabian.com, or I can send you a link. Anybody interested in it, and any drum teacher can become a member of
Nice.
that, regardless of what you play, as far as I know.
Rick, I've got another question. My questions were kind of like I already knew the answer, but I wanted to know more. And this one goes back about predates your teaching. I wanted to know what got you into drumming to begin with. What was the first inspiration? Why did you start playing drums in the beginning?
All right, well, that's a good question, and it kind of relates to the music in that video that I just showed you. that was my late great brother, Robert, who I miss dearly. He's been gone for 4 years. And he was a brilliant guitarist and music producer, songwriter. And that was the last jam that we ever did, he and I together.
Really?
And we were doing a session, and I was just doing sound check. I was just like jumping around, you know, and just playing something. I don't even know what I was playing. And he took that little loop and made that music, and he played all the guitar. And
That's cool.
I never, it was just like, just showed up one day, like he had that, and I was just so blown away by it. So I thought it was really appropriate to put him and I on that. I called it Last Jam because it was our last jam together.
Oh man,
But
that's
he's the
touching.
one.
That's
It's
cool.
yeah, man. He got me started, man. He was a cool guy. So he was part of the original punk scene in New York City. You know, we used to jam. We were like into Cheap Trick and you know, Blondie and all that. And he ended up moving to New York City in the 70s, and he was one of the original New York City punk bands called the Nothing. So the Nothing was
Wow.
sort of short-lived, and I just recently got the EP and digitized it, so I'm gonna put some Nothing music out there.
Cool.
But they were friends of the Sex Pistols, and knew the Sex Pistols. Not my brother, but
That's cool.
his band members. And so anyway, so my brother had a garage band before that, and there was a drum kit in the garage, his drummer's kit, and you get the, hey man, don't touch the drums. Come on, don't eat the candy, you know. Man, oh my God.
Don't
I
eat the
remember that.
candy.
Oh my God. And I just like, yeah, right. And then I remember just picking up a stick and hitting a floor tom. And the power, it just struck me. It was like magic going through me. And
Wow.
I just kind of knew, wow, my life was different that day.
Wow.
And man, I still feel that. I still
know,
feel that to this day.
I gotta say, Rick, I love hearing that story from you and from you. You said something that I know we all share and that you hear from so many students, and that is, man, that first time I picked up
Yeah.
a stick and I hit the snare drum, or I
Yeah.
hit the cymbal, whatever it was. You said a floor tom. The
Yeah.
second you do that, there's that moment where you're like, that's not what I expected, you know, and it
Yeah.
takes your breath
Yeah.
away. And I saw that in your
Yeah.
face when you said that. And it's a magical moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a
It is.
magical
That's
moment. Hey,
fantastic.
really quick
Yeah.
over here on Facebook, I'm going back and monitoring and stuff like that. Jim Royal, excellent.
Hey.
How do I get the book? A signed copy, of course. So throw that out
Oh,
there. Jim Royal wants a copy.
oh man, Jim, I will send you a copy. Let's just talk. Jim is an amazing educator. We interviewed a few episodes back. I encourage everybody to go back and look at that, either on Facebook, on the private group for drum teachers, or on our YouTube channel, which is open to the public. Everybody can watch it. So Jim's interview is just killer. And Jim is a Connecticut boy like myself. So, but the book, I am self-published. So you could just go to rickstojak.com. And the 3 books are available in the United States right now. And the 4th book is coming. And then it's also available on the Aquarian online marketplace. So you just go to Aquarian and scroll down and find the marketplace. And there they sell my book and Jeremy's amazing book, Finding the Groove.
Finding the Groove.
Yep. And Roy Burns' books are in there on the Aquarian marketplace as well, along with it's what's so innovative about Aquarian too. They're setting up on this online marketplace a place where their artists can sell their products.
That's cool.
That's innovative thinking. So
Aquarian definitely is
yeah.
awesome. I have another quick question for you that might be a little bit deep, Rick. One of the things, though, no, it's a simple, but it might be deep, but it's simple. It's not too heavy. ever since I've known you, right, you remind me so much of the saxophone player for the Sam Morrison Band, just in your attitude. I've
Oh,
ever since I met you, I remember when I met you, you were like this positive energy explosion. I mean, you are just
oh man.
always always up here. You always have a smile on your face. You always have something positive to say.
Mhm.
You are just this positive guy. Is that, and I'm sure I can see by the video and knowing you and your love for drumming that carries into your teaching. Has
Uh,
it always been that way? Is that something you work on? Is that where does that come from? What is that? I mean, is it
uh,
just in your being? How do you get that? How do you get
How are
that?
you so
uh,
positive, Rick?
oh, you guys are just so sweet. Thank you so much. Well, love of friends like you guys sure does help, you know? And I it's definitely a thing my wife and I work on a real lot. My wife Julia, I really have to credit her a real lot. She is a person who's dedicated her life to enlightenment and positive thinking and you know, framing your day whatever way you want to call it, whatever way you want to slice it. But we're here on this planet to enjoy this journey, and so we put a huge amount of effort into that. So you know, we start our morning on a walk, and we do like we call it a pre-pave of the day, you know, of you know, it's kind of like a prayer. It's just like what we'd like to see happen for the day. And so we start off with that fresh air walk, and then we start off with, you know, we do some yoga and meditating. And so it's a real good step to being positive. And so I really have to credit her and both of our families for kind of getting that mindset. I think you guys are going to see a lot of that when you see the Gene Hoglan video, my brother-in-law, too, that he's got that vibe too. And
Right
so yeah,
on.
we work on it. It's not always there. Everybody's human, and you know, we have to be real. And but that alone, I just love what I'm doing, you know. And
Yeah.
um so you know, when Robert and I started our playing in bands together, we just wanted to play original music. We that was our thing, you know. We really didn't want to be playing in cover bands. We kind of just saw the local scene in Connecticut that the cover bands weren't creating, you know. And we were close enough to New York where we thought, wow, we can have that artistic freedom and create our own music and maybe do have a bigger career. So you know, that the band never really popped, but we were doing what we wanted to do. We were playing our original music. Um, but that meant that I had to get a job. And so I had regular jobs at the same time. And I still, especially today in COVID, think that it's okay to have a day job and be a musician. Um, and so I did that for years. It was a really long and tough day, you know, because I'd work for 8 hours, and then I'd go teach for 2 hours, and then I'd gig. I didn't sleep very much, you know. We would tour, you know, but I had so much freedom to do what I wanted to do musically. So when I was out on tour, I wasn't worried about you know, the gig paying the rent. Um, but then after a certain amount of time, you know, it's been over 10 years, my business picked up to the point where I could do drums full time. So that happened in my 40s. So damn right I'm in a good mood, man. I'm finally doing it, man. And it didn't, you
I
know,
love it.
Yeah.
that's why I'm in a good mood. I feel like it's a privilege, and I feel like I
Yeah.
earned that, you know, by sticking to it, by sticking to my guns. Like, man, I'm going to be a musician, and I'm going to grow as much as possible and evolve my drumming. And I realize that personal growth is really a part of it too.
That's
So
that's
Yes.
amazing. That is so
it's a
great.
great place to be in. I really, you know, it feels really good to be able to make a living as a drummer. But that said, if you have to do something else at the same time, that's cool too. Because I had a lot of happiness back in those corporate work days too. But they did give me a lot of business chops too, which so I am grateful for all of that.
Oh yeah, that's something I mean, to run a successful teaching business, um, you have to have those business chops. At one time, I remember
Yeah.
Jeremy saying to you, Rick, he goes, Rick, you are a mover and a shaker. And I admired that so much that he said that about you, because I fully believe that you have to be that. I mean, you have to, you can't rest on your laurels. You've got to be out there. And you definitely don't rest on your laurels, my friend. You are awesome at what you do. You're very good
Oh,
at what
that's
you do.
so nice. So nice of you to say.
I couldn't-
Yeah, I wanted to mention before I get that video, this might be helpful for drum teachers. If I get an inquiry for lessons, I send that video out right away to the inquiry.
The one you just
'Cause
played.
yeah, and I that's helped out evolve this business so much, so people can get a visual of the environment they're going to be in, get a chance to hear me play, and I think that's helped out a real lot. And so I think that's something to that teachers should consider putting a little collage of what it's like taking a lesson from them
Well, I'm glad you
together and
circled
sending
back
it.
on that, Rick, because I did want to make a comment about your studio, because you guys were talking earlier about the magical experience that a lot of people have when they first play the drums or hit the drum, and like they get a sense of how powerful this can be. That studio is totally inspiring. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh man.
I see that place, that video, I see your studio with the 4 drum kits and the flat screen TVs and all the books and sticks and cymbals and the electronics, and you've got everything set up there, the percussion instrument. And I just think, man, if I was a kid and I saw that video, my mouth would be hitting the floor. I want to go to that. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
Or in one teaching studio where I get to like be there and try everything out and learn about it and be in that environment. What a cool, inspiring place you've created there, man.
Yeah, I like the snare
Uh,
station.
Oh, thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. I feel like it's an investment. You earn money and then you put the money back into it. And so first, like all of you guys and probably anybody who's watching this, we're all drum nuts. We all love our gear. And I feel like it's inspiring to a student to come in and play a drum that sounds good.
Yep.
And then they go home and they realize, oh, my drums don't sound like this.
Yeah.
And then so, well, that's an opportunity for me to start talking about Aquarian drum heads.
Yeah.
So and then I feel like the studio should be like a working showroom for the companies that I endorse. So there are so many Sabian cymbals in this studio. I could do a quick, oh my gosh.
I love
Of course
your
I
cymbal
played,
wall. I do love
of
the
course
cymbal
I
wall.
played, yeah, I mean, I played Sabian before I was an endorsee, and here's the acrylic kit.
You
And
guys got security in that building, right?
oh yeah, we do.
Hey,
So we've got the HHX.
Is
What's
that
that part?
is the acrylic kit? Go back to that for a second. Is that
Yeah.
a old Ludwig Vistalite? What is that?
No, this is a DW acrylic kit.
Oh, okay. Oh, I can
And it
see the
has,
lugs now. Yeah, now I see it. I see it now.
yeah, and it has drum lights in it. Drum light. Unfortunately, they're not with us. They went out of business because of COVID.
Okay.
But these lights flash. I could hit the kick. I don't know if I could take you over if this will work right now. Oh, I don't have that set up right now, but it will respond to a hit. So I'll use this kit to gig if I play with it with a local DJ, because I do some DJ gigs. And
That's a question I had also in regards to that. You just kind of spun me into it after reading your bio and stuff. The DJ gig, how did that come about, and what do you do? How does that, talk to us about that? How does a DJ gig work? I think a lot of people get stuck in, I want to play in a band. How did
yeah,
the DJ thing come about? How did that work for you?
I have to thank a local drummer, a good buddy of mine, a great drummer, James Morton. Um,
Oh, yeah.
who is he wrote one of the first books for Mel Bay. I know Chip's gotten some books out from Mel Bay, a book called Killer Fillers. So he's a professor here at Grossmont, and he's written the Classic Rock Drum Chart series, which are incredible transcriptions of classic rock songs. So anyway, James got a call one day from a like an entertainment company, and they had the idea, we want to do drum and conga, or DJ and conga, excuse me, DJ and conga. And he said, I think that might be, I don't know, I think you're like kind of the right guy for that kind of gig. So it's wonderful to have a referral. And so I did that. My strength
That goes
certainly is
back to
drum
your
set.
personality and your networking too, though.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chip. Yeah, it's just like it's really important to align and with all of the people in your field. You want the more you do to help them out, it's just going to come back to you tenfold.
Right.
And so, yep. And so I knew my strength really was drum set, working in acoustic and electronic percussion with drum set. And so so I just showed up to the first gig. It was just a corporate gig with that acrylic drum kit with the flashing lights, and there's a DJ, and I'm like, well, okay, I know I need headphones because I want to lock in like crazy with what this DJ is doing. So I just had my headphones, and I just tried to enhance the music and just play along to it. And like it always happens, it just led to a bunch of gigs.
That's great.
So,
Now, also on your bio, you said you play at SeaWorld. What do you do at SeaWorld?
Actually, at the San Diego Zoo.
Oh,
I did a
San
lot
Diego
of gigs.
Zoo. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the
safari.
and the safari park. Well, for a long time, I was playing with a reggae calypso band called Island Fever, which was a steel drum band, and I would play drum set. And
Okay.
the zoo was open at night in the summers, and we would have the nighttime gig. And oh man, those gigs were just so fun. Getting kids to dance. You'd play a half hour, have a half hour off. You could walk around at the zoo. It was. And I'm a big animal buff, so it was just so great. But I really had to diversify. Cool. And this was cool too. So I would be coming home to get that gig. I was coming home late at night from my psychobilly gigs, wearing my leather jacket or kind of like a rockabilly kind of thing. And I'd see this other guy come home, and one night he's coming home and he's got cases of it. I think this guy's, he's got PA gear, and turns out he was the leader of Island Fever. And so he did variety music, and he also did steel drum and reggae and calypso. And it was so funny because we'd come home, both of us, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and we're both clearly both musicians, clearly wearing clothes that don't match. He'd either have like a Hawaiian shirt or a tuxedo on, and so we instantly clicked. And then he said, yeah, man, you come on out, and we have a gig. It's a reggae gig. I said, dude, I've played reggae in books, but what about rehearsal? He goes, there's no rehearsal, man. He goes, you're ready for it. And I'm like, oh God. And so I did the gig. I was nervous as hell. Yeah. And I just kept the simple, just try to do a one drop. Yeah. Keep the kick and click on 3 or 2 and 4, depending on how you count it. and just go from there. And that led to a lot of gigs, a real lot of gigs. And then then one of the guys who worked at the zoo is a character actor, and he had a gig over at Legoland and had this idea: if we build a percussion cart, I'll show you the percussion cart. This is really goofy and fun.
Legoland.
So
Oh, that's cool.
what we would do,
Daniel
what we
Glass would love that.
it was such a unique gig, because what we would do is they would dress, these were character actors, and what they would
Okay.
do is, and costume designers, they were stilt walkers, and they would have a costume for me based on the theme. So this was Aloha Joe. So I would dress kind of like a surfer for this. And it was a battery powered speaker. I'd play surf music, and we would take that cart full of percussion, and I could roll the cart along and
That's cool.
and jam to the music. So I did a lot of zoo gigs that way as a, God, what was my I was the Lost Explorer at the zoo. So I was like a safari guy, and they'd have marathons at the zoo. So man, just different gigs, you know, and it was just really, that's one of the great things about being a musician, you know, and diversifying your styles. You never know what you're going to play.
Well, and
A
kudos
lot of people underestimate that.
risks, you know, like for branching out and taking gigs that you weren't necessarily comfortable or didn't know what you were going to be doing, uncharted territory, and you made it into something that worked.
Yeah, I made it into something, and then if I felt that it wasn't the right gig for me, then I'm happy to plug in somebody else, as in James plugged me in for a gig. I could easily plug him into other gigs too, and other local players. So
I have a question for you. You know, Rick, one of the things that and I think I know the answer to this, knowing all of us, but sometimes I'm sure we've all run into the drum teacher that, you know, well, I'm going to be a drum teacher until I get my big break, right?
yeah.
And that doesn't work. I remember years ago taking a lesson with Bissonette, you know, and I'm like, you know, that really resonated. It was like, okay, you know, it's all encompassing, right?
Right.
I mean, what would you say to young drum teachers out there about that mindset? And like, I mean, you obviously don't put your safari gig or a gig with one of the punk bands or the psychobilly band or a lesson. There's not one that's more important to you, is there? You don't phone anything in. It's all the same, right? You give 100%
I would say
every time, right?
I would say it's all the same. The psychobilly stuff, which we could talk about, was my real love, because that's where I went the furthest though. And really enjoyed that scene and those people. But I think you've got to put the same passion into all of it, or the audience is going to know it.
Right.
You know, the big break, is that what you were talking about, Bart?
Yeah, kind of like, you know, a lot of times people like, oh, I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna do this gig until, you know, I'm a rock star, or till I get my big break, you know. And I think those things, you know, you make your big break. And your big break has come in the form of all of these things that you do. I mean, you're so all encompassing, and I it's incredibly inspiring. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I think people have to decide for themselves whether they're going to go full throttle and be a pro musician and live with the outcome, or whether to have a backup plan.
Right.
And I think that's like one of the deepest, most important personal choices that a musician can make. And I've seen it work out in different ways, you know. You know, my brother-in-law, Gene Hoglan, never had a backup plan. You know, from high school, they got signed to a record label. He's been making his dream, you know, making his living as a musician from day one. Right. No backup plan. And, you know, and I'm sure there's moments where Gene, you know, periods in his life where there was no money at all. and you know, he dabbled with that, you know, had already played some big gigs, right? Had already been on labels, but there's no gig today. And so but he had that stick-to-itiveness and that talent and that passion to stick to it and never give up on it. And it's paid off. He never gave up. He never gave up, you know. And he just knew it, no? And so, you know, many guys like him, and you know, I listen to a lot of drummer podcasts. They're like, never give up, man. You just got to stick with it, and you've got to go full throttle. And if you have a backup plan, you know, a backup plan will wreck you, you know, because then it's gonna be too easy to quit. So that's one concept, and I'm not gonna tell anybody what's best for them, because that's one thing that can work out. I've lived it with you know, I'm going to bring up my brother Robert again. My brother Robert, as a musician, had no backup plan whatsoever. And he used to always say, if it ain't music, it ain't shit, you know? And it's like, dude, got to pay some bills, man. And, you know, it was just hard for him to have that backup plan, and you know, and the outcome wasn't good. It was the worst outcome in the end. Other than I'm grateful for how he influenced me, and we left a lot of great music behind, and you know, he left an amazing daughter, my niece Kristen, who's a PhD now and a mommy. You know, but that break, man, you know, I think luck's a factor to some degree. I think location is a factor. Preparation is the biggest factor. But I just say stick to it, man. I that's what I've done, and it's worked for me. But I stuck to it, being responsible too. So
I think the attitude's a big part of it too, because you know, for anybody that's been out there and toured and been on the road, I mean, the you know, you're on stage playing music for this long, you know, a 90-minute show, you know, is the highlight of the day. But you know, you gotta live in the bus or in the car or in the van with all those people, or in the hotel room. You got to live with those people. So your attitude and the type of person you are and how you are as a person is a big part of that. And the reason I bring that up is because you're a shining example of, you know, hey, you got a room with Rick, you know, for the next 3 nights on the road. Not a problem. You know, I've seen people where, you know, you're like, hey, you got a room with the keyboard player, and people are, you know, jumping over the railing and diving into the pool, and you know, I mean, you want to, you know, I'll sleep under the car, you know, I mean, you know.
Oh my God, that's a great example. That's a great segue to show you the Barnyard
Hey,
Ballers.
look at that! Whoa, whoa! Look at that!
Yep, that's my.
You look like a brawler.
My psychobilly. Oh man, baller, B-A-L-L-E-R.
Oh, baller. Oh, I thought. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna fight for a minute. Sorry.
I've never had more fun than being on the road with these guys. We toured the country. We toured Europe a few times, and but you know, there's some characters in there.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
you know, it was kind of good that that I had a day job, that I wasn't like, we're gonna live gig to gig.
Yeah.
You know, we were out to create good music and have a good time. You know, that was it. And so, but playing in a band can be a challenge.
What instrument did the pig play?
Pig was most kind of like the band mascot. There's always a pig.
I was joking.
That actually was a statue. Yeah. Yeah. So, oh my gosh.
You know, Rick, I just want to bring up something that you mentioned to me yesterday. We were having a conversation about life and drumming, and you said something like, if I could retire, you know, if I had a, $1 bajillion tomorrow, I'd still do exactly what I do.
Yeah.
and that spoke to
Yeah.
me and, hit me really hard in a great way. Like, wow, here's someone who's passionate about what he does, who's earned everything that has come to him through his hard work and his passion. And you're just a terrific role model for, I think, for all the people, all the drummers and musicians that you play with and all the students that you work with, to be someone who's loving what they do so much and passionate and, just created this terrific life space, through your drumming. It's really cool, man. Congrats to you.
Thanks, Jeremy. When
Thanks for
people
your
come
support
in,
and friendship.
yeah, there's bills to pay, so you have to collect money. Um, and I like to reinvest the money, but after the end of the lesson, most of the time I'm like, oh man, I would do this even for free if I could.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. That's what I love about Drummers Education Connection and the community. That's the community of drummers. I find drummers really get along. I find that we're very cooperative, and it's just marvelous to be part of that community and to have this camaraderie with you guys and then all of our guests. It's just energizing, isn't it?
Well, we're
Yeah.
fortunate to have you, Rick.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you just took the words out of my mouth, Jeremy. It is such a pleasure. I mean, we all talk, how much the four of us look forward to Tuesdays when we do this and and starting to get our stuff out there on the internet live and stuff. But really, like I say, whenever you pipe on, it's just like, man, this positive ball of energy and being involved with you, Rick, is just such a great thing, and I appreciate it so much. So,
Yep.
so
Hey,
much.
Rick,
Oh man.
you've said
Yeah.
something before when you were talking about students and lessons and reading music out of the book. You said something to the effect that it's the greatest crossword puzzle ever. Can you explain for our viewers what that means? What did you mean by that?
I'd have, I find written music and music just a complete mathematical equation, and learning to read music and drum music is the coolest thing ever, because if you could put the note in this space in relation to the quarter note, here's a quarter note, if you could put the note a little bit ahead or behind, there's infinite possibilities
Nice.
with it.
Yeah.
And so it is like a puzzle for me. I'm writing on my iPad all the time, different pages for the book series, and for me it's like my comfort zone. It's like my little whoopee. I'm like, I wonder what would happen if we displaced the snare, or
Yeah.
or what variations. Okay, here's the beats. Now what can we do with this? This 16th note beat, can we play it
How do you build a
alternating?
drum
Can we
group?
play it linear 16ths, right? Yeah. That kind of thing. What if we put those 16ths on the toms? It's infinite, and I think we're just at the beginning of exploring what can be done with the drum set.
Oh yeah. I have a question. I'm glad you said what you said, because it triggered a question for me. You're talking about building the drum groove and playing, songs from day one, and
Yeah.
and getting people just, hey man, here, jump in the pool and swim and go for it. You
Yeah.
also had said in past conversations that you pepper in technique and the rudiments and stuff like that. And I
Yeah.
love the way you
Yeah.
put that. Kind of giving the student their dessert first, so to speak.
Mhm.
Yep.
When
Yep.
do you decide that, okay, it's time to put in the rudiments, and how do you fuse those things together? How do you do that?
Oh, that's a real good question. Um, a lot of time when I see people trying to, all right, we got the beat, and then I'll encourage them to try to improvise. And then I'll see them trying to do something, but they can't articulate it.
Right.
And then I'll say, yeah, man, I see you're trying to get that roll in there. I mean, that would be really cool in that fill. So let me show you how to do a roll. So they've got some interest. They're like, oh, I get why I want to practice a roll, because it's going to sound like boom. It's going to sound really, really cool in that song, rather than, here's a drum roll. Well, what can they do with that? They can go a parade. They
Right.
hear that, they go, a parade, or maybe I heard it, and in an orchestral piece, and they watch, listen to Star Wars theme and hear the snare drums.
Right.
So it's just not always so I try to make it like apparent to them that you're going to use it, and that's when I'm going to work that in.
Nice.
Right.
Yep. Or
Murray
like a flam.
Murray Piper says,
Murray.
yeah, Rick Stojak's books are great tools. We all agree with that. We all agree with that.
Thank you, Murray. Murray is a great drummer educator. I believe in North Carolina. I know he's on the East Coast. He's a great guy. I would love to have you on in the future. Murray is one of my guests. Yeah, you guys check out Murray's. If you don't know him, everybody should friend him and get to know him. He's a wise
Thanks,
man
Murray.
and a
Thanks, Murray.
dedicated educator, a saving education guy. Thank you, Murray.
That's great. That is
Well, Rick,
fantastic.
before we sign off, I would wonder if you have any advice for younger drum teachers, drum instructors who are looking to grow their practice, grow their business. Yeah, what advice?
That's a great question, and that's really what Drummer Education Connection is about, right? Well, I would watch our goal planning episode that we started.
Yeah.
That we did to start off the new year. Definitely set up some goals, and I definitely would stick to it. I would try my best to be really diverse with my playing. I have seen so many teachers who don't read say, I'm going to be a drum teacher. I've never seen it work out.
Right.
I really think you've got to learn to read. I mean, you could show somebody if you can't read a few things, but just invest in learning to read. And then as a drum teacher, invest in lessons for yourself. So I really
Yes.
think everybody really needs a mentor or 10.
Very
You
much.
know?
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
It's over, so I can come down and take lessons with all of you guys.
I know, man. I want to take
Yeah.
lessons with all you guys.
Yeah.
Hey, there's
Yes.
a quick question here on Facebook. I got to get back over there. It's from Jacob Sosa. Jacob,
Jacob.
are you teaching from your home or are you renting a space? And then it's a two-part question. Are there more benefits to teaching from a home space or your home space?
Well, we've seen it work either way. I could tell you what works for me. I'm at a band rehearsal studio in San Diego. I like the environment down here of having bands around. Down the hallway is my sister-in-law, Laura Christine. So that's Gene Hoagland's husband. So that's how Gene and I connect. So Laura's down here teaching guitar and they're doing their rehearsals here. So you get this being in a band vibe when you come to your lesson at a rehearsal studio. You see musicians, you get to hear people in the hallway, like, oh my God, there's a famous heavy metal drummer right there in the hallway. And, he might even come and let you hear him drum a little bit, And so I really like that. There's overhead involved though. I've got to pay a big rent, so I really like having the studio. Of course, it's got to be a safe, secure studio that's kid friendly. Even though I mostly teach to adults, hardly any kids at all. I've seen a lot of people set up a home studio. In San Diego, real estate is tight. We don't have like houses with barns in the back where you could, we don't have that kind of real estate. So noise is often a real problem. We don't have basements in San Diego. So, but I think if you're going to teach at home, it should be an isolated area away from the family. One thing that turns me off is I see, a drum kit in a bedroom and like in a video, or come to my house and, there's a drum kit in the bedroom. When are you going to go to somebody's bedroom and take a lesson? I just don't think that's so cool.
Yeah.
But you have to do what you can, man. I think experiment with different setups. But I think it's make a commitment. I think if you have your own place, that's a commitment, and people will come. It sets you aside, Jacob, as more of a professional instructor if you can pull it off. But I am very jealous of you, Bart, in your house, and I know you've got a great home set up there too. And you have, well, when COVID's not happening, you have people come to the house, right?
Yeah, I have people come here, and I also have
Yep.
a studio at Moe's Fullerton Music in downtown Fullerton, and
Yep.
I like the vibe of being in a music store, because same
Yeah.
thing, you got to get a pair of sticks right there, and I, off subject a little bit, but what you just said. The reason I like teaching in a music store, you don't even really realize it until it was taken away at COVID.
Yeah.
My entire life I've been around this. And when COVID hit, I kind of started realizing that I really missed hearing the guitar teacher in the next room and the guy out in the showroom that's trying to learn how to play a trumpet and he's out of tune and out of time, and the guy in the guitar room that's just meddling out. That's all music,
Yeah.
and it in and of itself is a song. And
That's it.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so hearing all that
That's
big
it.
conglomeration of noise, but it's musical, I miss that so much, And
Yeah.
so hopefully
There's
we'll be
there's all
back
the
soon.
networking that goes on in a rehearsal studio environment
I'm
or
sure you
a
get
music
that
store
all the
environment.
time. Yeah, I'm sure you get
Oh
that all the
yeah.
time. All the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's Gene and I,
Oh, there you are.
Gene
so
Hoagland, Death Clock.
yeah, so so somebody asked me a double bass question, and I can't answer it. Maybe if there's a deep question, or like, hey, let's just go get Gene's insight. He's right down the hall.
That's a,
That can be
I would
really
say
cool.
I would say it's a good resource to tap into.
Yeah,
He's been known to play a little bit of double bass in his life.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But Jacob, we have to all do what we can. And I think if you're an online lesson guy doing it from home, you know, that that works. I'm still seeing people here with masks and social distance,
Right.
combined with my online lessons. So because I've got enough space in here where I feel it's safe, and I interview the students before they come in too. I want to know what their
I,
lifestyle is.
I like what you said about the investment. I mean, because just my setup here where I'm setting for for online lessons, the investment in that is huge. And
Yeah,
I'm looking at your wall
right.
of Sabian stuff, and dude, I got Sabians everywhere, and I'm looking at that wall, going, "Oh my God!" I mean, I'm drooling. We're all part of Sabian, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." So my hat's off to you, Rick. You have done
Thanks,
such an
Bart.
outstanding job, and it
Yeah,
just
thank you
again,
Uh,
so much, Rick.
yeah, Rick,
well, I
you're the
want to thank
best.
all you guys. Chip, this started with Chip having an idea.
Yep.
We weren't sure what it was, but let's have a networking meeting. That's
We're
really
still
what
not
it
sure
was.
what it
Yeah,
is.
we still don't have any idea what we're doing.
Yeah, we're just figuring it out. But we want to offer. We know we want to offer people some insight and some inspiration and some knowledge.
I think you've
And
done that today.
Most definitely.
oh,
Most
thanks,
definitely.
sure, Rick.
thanks
Well, we
so
can
much,
mention that
guys.
next week, we're going to be airing an interview that Rick did with Gene Hoagland, one of the top metal drummers in the world, who happens to be Rick's brother-in-law and teaches at the same, works at the same studio complex. So that's not going to be a live interview. That's going to be pre-recorded, but we're going to air it at 11 o'clock Pacific time next Tuesday morning. You still can chime in with comments. We just won't see them. We can respond to them later. Rick, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
It's just everybody, this is a great time to practice. Just stay safe, wear your mask, be really, really responsible, and take this era and grow from it, and take as many lessons as you can. And for every dollar you spend on gear, spend 5 or 10 on lessons, no matter how good you are. And just stay safe and healthy, and we're all in it together. And I think we're going to see a big music renaissance after COVID is gone. People are going to be hungry
Here,
for
here.
music. Yep. And so
Like-
there's a lot of hope out there. There's a real lot of hope. Yep.
Like my good friend
Awesome.
Go.
Rick Ritter said,
Awesome.
a few weeks ago, he said the future of the music business, or what do you say? The outlook of the music business depends on our outlook.
That's right, Chip.
Yep.
That
That's
was a
very
great
true.
quote, Chip. Yeah.
Mr.
right.
Ritter.
We'll see you guys all next week. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you, Rick
Guys,
Stojak.
thank you.
Don't
Thank you,
forget,
Rick.
go
Love you
get
guys. I love you
rickstojak.com.
guys.
Rick
Thank you guys
Stojak
so
Drum
much.
Studios right here. There you go. Right there. Look at that guy.
It was
rickstojak.com.
Look at that smiling face. Look at that happy guy.
How about this one?
You guys are the best.
Yeah, man.
Oh, he's
I
more pissed off
appreciate
on
it,
yours, Jeremy. Look at
I
your
know.
cover, man. He's all
Yeah, I
mad.
know. I'm like,
He's
in the
like,
group there, I'm like,
He was in a better mood this day.
All right. Thanks, Rick. See you, everybody.
See you
Love
guys.
you all,
Thanks.
guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Appreciate it. Thank you.